find out all the latest news. Let's go Rangers.
Blueshirt Underground, motherfucker!
Can't be as a Ranger fan. Can't be as a Ranger fan.
This is an unlawful gathering. This is an unlawful gathering. The truth is out there. The truth is out there.
This is the underground. This is new media. This is the underground. This is new media.
Ranger fans, report to the critical thinking hangar. Ranger fans, report to the critical thinking hangar.
And now here is the starting lineup for the New York Rangers. And now here is the starting lineup for the New York Rangers.
This is New York Rangers hockey. 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 This is New York Rangers.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Blueshirt Underground Show with Jim and Eddie. Today is Thursday. It is October 8th of the year 2020, the year that never ends. My name is Jim, and as always, I'm joined on the other side of the window by the one and only Edward Geik. Eddie, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm sorry I left you stranded the other night. I just was not feeling well. Migraine, stomach pains, and I have no idea why it was all
Menzies.
I had the menses. So I apologize, but I heard the show was fantastic. Didn't listen to it.
As long as you heard it was fantastic.
Well, everybody was saying great show, great Steve Corianos. That's what I hear. The word on the street.
Steve was fantastic as always. He will join us shortly. We had Brian Attard jumped in for a little while with us. Joe Catroni was here for a little while with us. Rock was here for a little while with us. So we got through it. It was always the show always suffers without you, but we managed to get through. And
the crew always comes in. Those guys, they know their stuff. They've got good opinions. And, it's all good in the neighborhood. I'm glad to be back. Got a lot of...
glad you're feeling better.
Got a lot of vigor, I think. Or maybe vinegar. Yes. I'm limping on to my comfortable computer chair. So glad to be back, Jim. And I hope all is well by you. And all that.
All well. Little Van Halen to play us in tonight.
Yeah, R.I.P. Eddie Van Halen. Certainly one of the greatest guitarists of all time.
I know you like to joke when people get all upset about celebrities dying, but this was a tough one for me, my friend.
Yeah, I think
this was a tough one.
We're both creatures of the music. You know what I'm saying? Musicians seem to touch us appropriately. Right here in the old ticker. We're men of feelings. All Ranger fans are people of feeling. Now, right. I don't know if it's positive feeling, but there's certainly a lot of feeling going on. And I think when you're a musician of that ilk that brought us such great music, whether you liked him in the original Van Halen or the second coming of Van Halen with Van Hagar or the third, I think everybody wants to forget the The guy from Extreme, whatever his name
was.
was.
Gary Sharon. I just pretend like that one didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, but the draft has concluded. I think it just ended about 5 minutes ago. I think the Zoom meetings are done. Steve Coriano will join us once again tonight. He's going to be here in just a few minutes. He's going to recap these picks for us. We'll run down the names real quick before Steve gets here. In the first round, of course, no surprise, Eddie. Alexis Lafrenière, Sacre Bleu.
Oh my God! I had to hear it before the trail. The Rangers, you know, I might do something. Might make a trade, blockbuster. They never, ever had any other intentions than drafting the, what are they calling him? Lafrenière.
Lafrenière.
They had there was no alternate plan. There was the worst, no poker faces.
Right.
You know, they knew. Come on. And now he's all ours. So what the hell are we going to do with him?
Jeff, they asked Jeff Gorton. This was in yesterday's paper. They asked him, when did you decide to draft Alexis Lafrenière? And his answer was, as soon as the ping pong ball came out with our name on it. And I guess teams had made offers for that number one pick, but you know, everybody was trying to rip the Rangers off, and no deal, no dice, not happening.
Yeah, he basically said, you know, they came with masks.
Right.
They were ready to rob.
Not the Covets.
Not those kind of masks. The mask you do the burglar wears, the Hamburglar. Come on, if the Rangers would have taken the Love franchise, I mean, they would have been. Come on, if there were any fans, they'd be booed. If there were any fans in the crowd,
right?
No, it just was. Come on, you don't get that stroke of a luck and start getting tricky with it.
Exactly.
So I'm glad he's here. I hear this, I hear that, I hear this, I hear that. People predicting point totals already. I'm not getting into that.
What's the point total? Even though we don't know how many games they play, it could be a 30-game season.
They play 60 games.
He's going to have 300 points.
I just know, and I think we saw this with Kakko. Now, it's Kakko is not as highly. I was going to say highly related, which is a Frankie quote.
Right.
It's not as highly rated as a Lafrenière. And La Franchise, I have very humble expectations. I'm not going out saying 40 points in 60 games, whatever. It's going to be humble. I just gonna cautiously optimistic.
Wow. Listen, no bombast from the great Eddie Geik. No hyperbole.
I gotta back off the bombacity. Fantastic bombastic. I gotta stay away from it. Give me a couple weeks though. I'll start seeing me in a couple exhibition games 6 months down the line, and I'll go nuts.
Right.
Then I'm predicting 80 goals in 60 games. You know me. I'm an emotional roller coaster, Jim.
What's the what was Gretzky's record for goals in a season? Was it 90, 91?
91 or 92, not sure.
Something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah.
In his 200-point season.
What are you going to say he's going to surpass that?
Oh, in the first half of the season.
First half of the season.
No matter how many games, it could be a 40-game season.
He's getting on.
He's gonna be like playing NHL 21 on rookie. 92. Thank you, guys. I knew it was 91 or 92. Nope.
No, listen, and these other draft picks, I want to get Steve on because, everybody hates the picks. Everybody.
Oh.
Everybody hates the picks.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Fuck those idiots on Twitter.
But Jim, unless I see any player, I have to watch him for at least 20 games for me to kind of get a beat on like what kind of player he is. These people, they judge. They never saw the guy play. They judge. Like they've been watching Western Hockey League games all year.
Right.
And you got to go in person, and you got to watch, and you got to really focus on a player. I hear over at the Blueshirt baby batter over there, whatever they call that show over there, with Unfortunato and Joey Pants and I don't know who else, whatever clod they got running the show with them. They're bashing the picks. What do these guys know? These guys work at McDonald's. How are they seeing these picks? And all the Rangers stuff. This guy got the Caps got a steal with this guy Pierre. I don't know what Jason Pierre-Paul or whatever you want to call this guy. Oh yeah, it'll look in. The guy's got like 41 different concussions. If the Rangers would have taken a guy with concussion problems, forget it.
Right.
Rangers, typical Rangers. Shut up. The rebuilding continues. I believe now in the last 4 years, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I often am. There he is. That's the savior right there.
I want to play this video. I know we had it in the group.
I love this video.
I know most people have seen it, but just I'm reading comments. I'm sorry. So what do we let's play this video real quick. This is, if you haven't seen it, this is the Rangers making the deal to trade up in the first round of the draft in order to grab Braden Schneider, Brady Shea. Hold on, let me
They snookered the Devils.
bring
That's
this up.
the word on the street, so.
That's what they're saying. All right, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Let me make sure I got the audio on. I got the audio on. All right.
There it is. Couldn't hear the sound on that, though.
Deal. Done.
I couldn't hear the sound on that, Jim. Did the crowd at home hear it?
I don't know. I don't see anybody complaining that they couldn't hear it. Oh, no sound.
The
Shit.
sound is very
Well.
crucial.
All right,
to
we'll
that.
try it again later because Steve is here, so I don't want to.
All right, bring this man in. Bring him in. The draft analyst, ladies and gentlemen. There he is, sporting his Yankee cap.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, there he is.
Are the Yankees
Hey,
playing
what's going
now?
on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I couldn't wait to talk to you tonight because I missed you the last time, and you're the only guy I trust with these analyzations of these players. The rest of these guys, hooky faluki in my book.
Yeah, the guys, people in the chat are saying there's no sound.
I think that was on the video.
About a video clip we played
okay.
earlier. Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
listen,
they should be able to hear you.
All right, listen, I try to represent the Yankees as best I can. I don't like the way the team is made up. It's either home run or not. The pitching staff is in shambles. So
what about this Sanchez kid? Apparently, he's a strikeout machine. He can't play defense.
Oh, Yasu, Gus, how you doing? Yeah, we got the Greeks.
Yeah.
I got the flag flying, Yankee flag flying. I'm trying to get into it, but it's just, I don't know. It's something about the team. I don't feel the same way I used to feel about them back in the old days. And I was a Yankee fan for like 15 years, and I became a Met fan for about 10. I just gave up when Steinbrenner turned his back on Mattingly. When that whole deal, that's when I became a Met fan. And then when 9/11 happened, I'm like, it made me, I guess, more patriotic, and I felt more Yankee-like, and I couldn't root for Arizona. So I became a Yankee fan again, and here we are. So who knows? I don't know. All the New York teams suck. The Yankees can't beat the Rays. What year is this? The Yankees can't beat the Rays. The freaking Devil Rays.
I just, me and Jim are sorry Met fans. And I just remember when they got Cole in the beginning of the year, I was like, this is unfair. The Yankees going to run away with this thing. And now they find themselves down. So,
yeah.
They're down, but they're not out. So anyway, we brought you on to talk the great hockey, to get us up to speed on whether the Rangers had a good draft or a bad draft or a mediocre draft. I don't think you can have a bad draft if you get the number 1 pick. So, no. I mean, basically, it's cruise control.
Now, before we get to Steve's analysis, I just want to say, I was watching the draft the other night, and when we're waiting for the 22 pick to come around for the Rangers to pick again, and all of a sudden I start to see something about a trade. So the first thing I do is open Twitter, and I swear to Christ, the first thing I see is Steve's tweet, and all it says is something like Rangers and their fucking defenseman or something like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, they already picked the defense. Wait, they already made the trade and the pick? And sure enough, like a couple of seconds later, I heard that it was.
Yeah, you know why? What happened was I was doing the live stream on YouTube, which was a disaster because while the Rangers made a pick not that I didn't agree with the pick, it was just the whole trading thing, and we'll get into that. But my wife, I was doing this. I'm in my garage now, and my wife was bringing back the girls from their softball games. And because she didn't want to disrupt the stream, she turned the lights off of her car, and she crashed into the freaking bikes parked in the side. So I thought the roof was caving in. So literally I went from dropping like 15 F-bombs, cursing out, the Rangers for making the trade. And my neighbors have company. So they're like, oh, there he goes again. So I cut off. But anyway, so I was doing the live stream, and one of the guys was freaking breaking all the picks. Whether he's like, yeah, I got a friend. He's a scout. So he was ruining the whole thing. Like everybody, who was like that guy, what's his name? Shams? Or is it Adrian Wojnarowski, who's like always tweeting the picks out 10 minutes before they happen? It ruins the everything. So he tweeted, he texted on the chat, he said Schneider. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, come on, man. But anyway, we'll ask away. I'll tell you my thoughts. It's really going to be not that bad, I think.
Well, I mean, we might as well start with Braden Schneider. I think we know. I don't really think there's much left to talk about on Lafrenière.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's ours, and so yeah, let's start with Braden Schneider. I think I saw a lot of fans and a few people who consider themselves members of the media compare him to Dylan McIlrath, and I think that's
there's no comparison.
I think that's a very lazy comparison just because this guy's
lazy
and likes to hit.
He's a first-round pick, and he's a defenseman. I think that's about all that's in common with these guys.
Well, and he's big, and he likes to play physical.
Right, he's physical, too.
Yeah. Well, listen. All right, so first of all, I had him ranked around like 33rd. I did see him play up close and personal at the World Junior Summer Showcase. Actually, that's why I sat next to JD. And whichever scout the Rangers had that married his daughter, or I think there's like some. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to spread any rumors, but there was some scout that has a relationship.
Nepotism never ends with this team. I gotta.
But anyway, and I was sitting next to JD. He's a big dude, by the way. But anyway, I was sitting next to JD. I'm like, all right, he's new to the Rangers as an FO guy, so I don't think he was briefed on the rules to hate me and to ban me and, but anyway.
Really?
So in any event, I'm watching Schneider, and he's skating end to end. He's skating end to end. He's throwing his weight around. He's really calm and poised under pressure. I mean, this is a best on best, like early summer tournament, if you want to call it that. And he did a really good job. And so I considered him to be a potential first-round candidate and one of the top defensemen available in the draft. I even wrote that in my August write-up when I did my preseason ranking. But as the season progresses, I'm watching 15, 20 freaking leagues. I'm going to start liking other guys. And when so anyway, long story short is I had him in the 30s. Some of the outlets decided to put him in the top 15. That's their prerogative. No issue with that. My issue with Schneider was more like offensive, related. But, if your team is loaded with puck rushes and puck movers and playmakers, then who cares if this guy can't really create offense or be that 65-point guy or, won't be the next Brian Leetch or James Patrick. So I do like him a lot. My problem has always been with the guys and their process. So this is just a personal guideline. I would like to think that if I was ever a GM or if I was ever a scouting director, that I would have enough faith in my guys and my scouts and the work that they did over the course of 12, 11, 13, 14, 15 months to say, hey, listen, this guy is our number one BPA. All right. So we already talked about the whole BPA thing. There's no such thing as a universal definition of BPA. BPA is different. Eddie, you think that freaking Keith Hernandez was BPA back in 1984? And I'll say, no, Dwight Gooden was BPA back in 84. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Right.
It all varies. So to the Rangers, whatever they decided, they obviously felt that Braden Schneider was BPA at 22. Well, what I don't like is twofold. Number one, they were paranoid because they felt that the Devils were going to take him, and the Rangers could say whatever they want. Ranger fans could say whatever they want, but Greg Wyshynski from ESPN interviewed Tom Fitzgerald after the draft, and Fitzgerald, now this could be a canned answer, it could be just damage control, but he said, I'm paraphrasing, he said, no, we were going to take Makama Doolin. We were not going to take Braden Schneider. Okay? One is a lefty, the other one's a righty, so maybe you could see that made a little bit of sense. The second thing, though, was that why not just have faith in your scouts and say, you know what, if we don't get Braden Schneider and Caden Gooley's off the board, right, why don't we just keep that third-round pick, right? Let's keep the third-round pick. We already got a deal cooking where we're going to trade Lias Andersson and potentially get, a second-round pick or maybe something else. Let's just go for the next best option, because how far of a separation is there from Braden Schneider to any player in the draft? And the reason why I say that is look in 2018. They said the same thing. They said we had to have Keandre Miller. We had to have him. It was going to be catastrophic if we didn't draft him. And Ranger fans to this day are saying, well, look, they traded up and they got the guy they wanted. It was a great pick. First of all, the kid's never played a single NHL game. So he's not a great pick. He's a good pick because he's developed well. But look at the guys taken after him. Rasmus Sandin's already played in the NHL. He's already played in the AHL, and he was good in the AHL. So Rasmus Sandin, how big of a gap is there between Keandre Miller and Rasmus Sandin? There's no gap at all. Jacob Bernard Docker is one of the top defense prospects in the NHL for Ottawa. How big of a separation is there between Docker and Miller? There isn't. They're both really good college sophomore defensemen. So have faith in your freaking scouts and say, you know what? I love this Schneider kid, man. He will be everything. He'll solve all our issues, but I kind of want to keep my third, man. I want to keep my pick, and if not, let's get somebody else. So it's the whole idea that they're smarter than everybody, and they're willing. They did it with the goalie, they did it with Miller, and then they drafted the goalie, which is why I got upset that year. So I don't want people to think that I don't like the pick. I love Schneider, and I think it's a great pick. It's just the fact that, the whole paranoia and trading up. They do it again. Yeah, you guys are saying they need defensive-minded defensemen. No, they don't. No, they don't need defensive-minded defensemen. They got them in the system. It's just a matter of giving them a chance to develop, play in the AHL, prove themselves outside of what they did in college or Europe. And then you have a little competition going. But I can tell you right now, if you look at the way that the draft unfolded, they could have found a Braden Schneider type maybe in the second round, maybe in the third round. And how big of a separation would there have been? I mean, with defensemen, the best defensemen in the NHL don't always come out of the top 10 of the 15 or 20 of the draft. Look at Roman Josi. Was he a first-round pick? Nope. Was Shea Weber a first-round pick? Nope. Was PK Subban a first-round pick? Nope. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Chris Letang, not a first-round pick. These are all guys drafted outside the first round, let alone in the late portion of the round. So so I said my little rant, but overall, I think he's a very good defenseman. He's got a lot of competition ahead of him. he's going to have to outplay one of Trouba, Lundqvist, D'Angelo, Fox to just become, not only just to become an NHL defenseman, he's going to have to outplay 75% of them to become a top 4 NHL defenseman and outplay all of them to become the number 1. And good luck with that. You know, I mean, because they already got a leg up on him. So we'll see.
So you're more upset with the Rangers, almost like impatience that they they've got they have to have this pick, so they've got to trade up to get him, and basically not relying on, okay, well, we got plan A, and if that doesn't work out, well, we got plan B. And
just go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I think by the reaction you saw of JD about acquiring this guy by draft, it looked like he was the one that really wanted this guy.
Yeah, but they say that every year. They said that about Lias. They say that every year. Listen, here's the one thing I'll say. Out of all the picks that they've had since 2015, so now we're going on 6 drafts, but I won't count 2019 because it was just a year ago, and I won't count this year because it just happened yesterday. How many of these picks have hit? How many of these picks have hit since 2015? Has Filipino, and I like Filipino, but has he really hit? Has he hit? No, we don't know yet.
No.
How many of these picks have hit? And the answer is none. Adam Fox has hit, but he wasn't their pick. He was a Calgary pick. Ryan Lindgren has hit. He wasn't their pick. He was a Boston pick.
Boston. Yep.
So when are these picks going to, what kind of track record do these guys have that could say, you know what? We could trade down. We could do whatever we want because we've developed. Now they might have done that in the let's say, I would say between 2000 and 2013 was a really good group of years, draft years for the Rangers. They did really well in that period. It's over a decade period where they were, at least finding one quality NHL player in each of those drafts, whether it be in the later rounds and the early ones. So, yeah, I get what you guys are saying. Hedo's only 20. I get it. But what I'm saying is, I'll give you an example, okay? I ranked Joe Farabee ahead of Vitaly Kravtsov. I ranked him ahead of Alva Wahlstrom in 2018. Just a gut feeling. I'm no expert. It was just a gut feeling, right? Well, the Rangers decided to go a good 8 or 9, 10 spots ahead of everybody else and take Kravtsov, right? Kravtsov is a right wing, left wing. He's a wing. Left shot wing. Farabee's a left shot wing. Farabee played in America. They saw him play plenty. But they decided, nope, we want this kid Kravtsov. Well, Farabee is a top 9 winger on a Stanley Cup contender. He's a top 9. I mean, there's no way to debate that. He's a top 9 winger on a Stanley Cup contender. The fan base is in love with him. The Flyers are in love with him. There's no drama. There's no shipping him back and forth. He's in the NHL. So, again, the Rangers just have this history. They told us the same thing with Lias Andersson. Lias Andersson was the best guy for us. Oh, the fans are going to love him. He addresses all that need. They took him ahead of Martin Necas, who I had ranked ahead of Lias Andersson. Martin Necas is a top 3 forward on a Stanley Cup contender in the NHL. And Lias Andersson now is in another organization, and all the Rangers got out of it was a 3rd-round pick. So I get it, but it is humanly possible to find the kid in the top 15 or top 20 who could be NHL ready in 2 years. Rasmus Sandin was the 26th overall pick. He's in the NHL, and next year he'll be a top 4 or top 6 defenseman on a potential Stanley Cup contender. I don't know how well the Leafs are going to be. So, I love Schneider. I'm not knocking the pick. I'm not knocking. It's the idea that these Rangers scouts and directors, how they all have that they have a secret that nobody else has. They have the Rangers secret.
Hey, no, you don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. Oh, no one knew about this kid. We knew about him. You didn't know about him. No one had Lindbaum going in the 2nd round. We did. He's special. He's special. But we have the best goaltending already, the best goaltending pool in the league. But we had to take him ahead of kids who are just torching it right now in the AHL and are on the verge of becoming regular NHL players. So good luck. That's all I say. Like, I'm not saying it was a big deal trading a 3rd-round pick. It was the whole idea of.
It's the philosophy.
Yeah, it's the philosophy.
And you would think that now that Sather is kind of out of the thing, and then you got JD, that it would change. But apparently their scouting department is still kind of same old. But we got to have this, guys. We know better than everybody. We got to jump ahead. We got to trade up to get these guys. They're must-haves. And meanwhile, like you said, there's no record of them going for those must-haves and them it's panning out like beautifully.
Yeah.
It's so I mean I get that. Now you wrote in the analysis of Braden that he lacked game-breaking skills. That. Tell me what you mean by that. And also, I want to add, I didn't like his shots on goal per game.
That was a big problem for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about what you meant by game-breaking skills.
Well, all right. So here's my guess. Now, I'm not going to say that it matters all that much because I have a feeling that the Rangers, considering that their scouts and JD have been around for a while, that they liked a guy like Brent Seabrook. And for all we know, the Rangers could have been high on Brent Seabrook back in 2003. And when Brent Seabrook played for Lethbridge, he didn't have high shot totals, but he was one of the top scoring defensemen on the team. He was a notable guy. He was a high Bantam pick. And, he was had a high reputation, but he didn't just take a lot of shots. But they knew he had the strength. He liked to hit, and he liked to skate. And we all saw Seabrook, whether it be in 2010 or 2013, or 2015, where he's a difference maker, Brent Seabrook. I mean, he wasn't really a game breaker to say. As far as game breaking goes, he's not the kind of guy that's going to change the momentum of a game with a specific play. Maybe a hit, if you want to go back and say, oh yeah, hitting could be a kind of a game breaking play, but it's less and less relevant nowadays because then you really toe that line of taking a really bad, major, catastrophic penalty. So it's rare. It's very rare that you see a hit change the tide of a game the way, let's say, an Erik Karlsson-esque end-to-end rush. Or what we all saw growing up with Brian Leetch. Brian Leetch was a game breaker. He was a game breaker. When every team went to play the Rangers, the opposing coaches said, all right, good luck trying to stop this guy because he's going to go end-to-end at least 4 or 5 times. He's going to spin you around. He's going to wear you out. And guess what? After one shift, he's going to come right back on the ice and do it again. Braden Schneider doesn't really do that. I mean, he skates really well. Beautiful stride. I mean, but Brady Shea was a beautiful skater. Beautiful stride, right? Nice coast-to-coast rushes on occasion, joins the rush, fires that wrist shot. So with the shot total, my only concern was that here's a number 1 ranked defenseman in this day and age with analytics and where shots are such a big deal and always analyzed. The agents know that. The kids know that. But he only averaged about 2 shots a game and was 41st in the league among defensemen. In the WHL, as a number 1, playing about 23 to 25 minutes a night. And I watched Brandon. I watched them play. They were a one-line team. They had Luca Berzan. They had Ridley Gregg. They had the other kid, I think Ben McCartney, maybe some other kid. And that was it. So it's not like they were rolling 4 lines and these forward lines are like, dictating play. And so the defensemen have a limited role, kind of like on the NTDP with the defensemen, no matter how good they are, McAvoy, Werenski, Hanifin, they still have to be a little bit more reserved. Schneider was allowed to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. But every time he did something, it was like, here, take the puck. You got it. Skate up the ice. Here, take the puck. Skate up the ice. Here, take the puck. Now, that's a good thing, right? If you always hemmed in your own end, the ice is tilted. Yeah, you want to get it out, and these defensemen can do that. But if you watch, 700, 800 kids a year for a draft class, you're going to see a lot of defensemen that can do that. A lot. It's poise, patience, hockey sense, call it whatever you want. A lot of defensemen with size and speed and a nice stride can see 2 guys, heading towards him and then make a little move and then boom, right up the ice he goes and exploit that opening. So, but Schneider, again, if Schneider, look at Ryan Lindgren, I love Ryan Lindgren. He'll play a limited game, but he could also carry the puck. So if he's a righty line Ryan Lindgren, then yeah, absolutely. But, we'll have to wait and see. He's a late birthday, 01. So he shouldn't spend all that much time in the dub. He should do, I think, maybe one more full season. And then you'll see him in maybe the playoffs, in the AHL playoffs, if Hartford makes it. and then he'll be able to really compete. But it's a really competitive group, and that's the good thing about the pick is that regardless of what they did, okay, water under the bridge now. They traded a pick to move up, and they went crazy about it. It's going to create intense competition for that defense. So at least at a minimum, Jeff Gorton and Gordy Clark and John Davidson could say, let's say 2 years down the road, that this is the best we could give you. We just had 9 or 10 either first round picks or close to being first round picks competing for 6 jobs. And, winner take all, dog eat dog, survival of the fittest. That's a good thing for the Rangers, especially when you have that goaltending. I mean, you're going to have a premier defense corps and elite goaltending, much to the chagrin of that division, I think.
Do you think a lot of it, Jim, you can jump in. I know I tend to ask a lot of questions, but do you really think, because I also heard Toronto was kind of interested in him as well, but do you think really there was a certain impetus to just let's jab the Devils here. Let's get under their skin.
I mean, it seems kind of petty to do it at a draft. You know what I mean? Especially in the first round.
Right.
Like, how old are you? Like, you know what I'm saying? The Devils, you're ahead of the Devils in the rebuild. What are you paying him back for because you couldn't beat him for 7 years and between 98 and 2004?
Yeah, you're paying him back for the Adam Henrique goal.
I would hope. I mean, that should be something that is just something that, oh, by the way, you know what I mean? But not a driving factor. Like if he goes to I could see them, this is my issue with the Rangers. I could see them saying, oh, it would break my heart to see Braden Schneider as a Devil in the division, knowing we could have had him. You shouldn't think that way. You should be positive and have that. You know what? We have such a great development system here in New York that we could take a 7th round pick defenseman or a 6th round pick defenseman, and he will come to our system and we'll indoctrinate him. He'll learn our systems. He'll undergo our training programs, and he will be at least close to it as good as any first round pick. And there are some teams that do that. I mean, it's almost like a militaristic, system, or not even. It could be laid back like Google, where anyone who comes in will automatically be almost cross-leveled with the top-tier guys. And, we'll just have to cross our fingers. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right about it, but I hope I'm wrong. But I don't want to say I hope I'm wrong about Schneider, because I think he's a great pick. And I think he will be a New York Ranger one day. And I think that he's going to make them a tougher team to play against. It's just, like I said, it's the whole, if they took him at 22, I'm not cursing 50 times in my garage. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. It's just the whole, we have to trade up, and then New Jersey comes out and says, yeah, we weren't taking him. We were taking somebody else. Now, you don't want the Devils will never admit, oh, God, he was our guy. We got the frickin' Russian. And, yeah, Shakir, welcome. even though you kind of the consolation prize. I know that, but, it's just they do this all the time. But, the defenseman, again, I wanted a center. We all talked about how they need a center.
Every year we talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
We need the centers. We need to stop drafting defensemen.
Hey, here's one for you. Because I got all the data. The Rangers have drafted natural centers. The Rangers have drafted only 5 natural centers since they took Dave in the first round, since they drafted Dave Gagne in 1984. Those 5 centers are Manny Malhotra, Jamie Lundmark, Philip Hedl, Lias Andersson, and JT Miller. But Miller was kind of he could play center and wing.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call him a natural center, and even Hedl. So in a way, they've only drafted 3 natural, and even Andersson played wing. So really, Malhotra and Lundmark were the only 2 natural centers. And I would say that if you look at the classic definition of a center, in my opinion, Jamie Lundmark is the only first-round pick in the last, 36 years that the Rangers used, grabbed in the first round. I mean, for a team that's never had any quality centers or star centers that you would consider on a Stamkos level or on a, Austin Matthews level. I mean, those are first overall picks, but of course there are a lot of centers who weren't first overall picks that were very good. So, Patrice Bergeron wasn't a first overall pick. He was like second round pick, mid-second round. He's a franchise center. He's a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? That's just one. I could pull up Hockey DB and list probably 50 centers that the Rangers could have had in the past that they passed on. So
I wonder why that is, though. It's kind
weird, man. The freaking Rangers are weird. They're not a normal team. They're not a normal team. They do things weird. How long have you been a fan?
Since 75. So,
Jim, you?
Yeah, about the same. 70.
Yeah. So me about like 85, 86. Weird team. They just do weird things. The only time they didn't do weird things was when Neil Smith was GM, because he knew that, hey, I got to build a cup winner. Guns to my head. I want to do it. Neil Smith wasn't a Ranger guy. He was a Red Wings guy. He was an Islander guy.
He was an Islander guy, too. Yeah.
He was a Jimmy Devellano, Bill Torrey disciple. He had no ties to New York. He's Canadian. And then he came to New York, fell in love with the city, said, I want to give these fans what they want. So every move he made, even when he was trading guys like Amonte and Waite, when he was drafting Alexei Kovalev, makes sense. When he was drafting Peter Ferraro, makes sense. Makes sense. I don't care if he was but makes sense. We trusted the guy. It wasn't when he got cup greedy that he started making some questionable moves. But do you remember a period where you were really questioning moves that Neil Smith was making, whether it be at the draft or?
No, because he would show up like at the when tickets would go on sale, he'd be there and he would promise, like this. I'll do, he went out and tried to get Joe Sakic. He would try to do anything to get the Rangers to be a winner. Yeah, I didn't question him. It was later on with the Brian Skrudlins and
that's understanding. He was just desperate,
right?
But as far as like drafting and developing, if you looked at the Red Wings model from the early '80s when they stopped being the dead things was based off the Islanders model when the Islanders stopped being the joke that they were. And Bill Torrey was the architect of that. And Bill Torrey hired Jimmy Devellano, Neil Smith. And what had happened? Neil Smith, who worked for Jimmy Devellano in Detroit, Ken Halen. Ken Halen was Jimmy Devellano's WHL scout. Ken Halen went on and went to the Red Wings to be their GM. And look how many they were a dynasty. Krista Rockstrom was the Swedish scout with the Red Wings. And then they went and they drafted all those home runs, Lidstrom and some of the other guys. And then Neil Smith brought him over from the Red Wings when he came here to the Rangers. So I don't think this Ranger scouting staff, and I don't want to knock them. I know they do hard work. They work their tails off. But I'm just wondering what's going on really with Gordon and Clark. Those are the guys I'd like to know what they talk about in terms of their philosophies of building not just a perennial like playoff contender, but building a legitimate powerhouse and maybe using some type of blueprint that other teams have used. I want to know what blueprint they use, because the Red Wing blueprint or the Torrey blueprint, Devellano, whomever, was not to trade picks. Neil Smith in the beginning did not trade picks. That's why his 90 draft was a freaking home run. It was only his second year as GM, and he loaded up. That was Zubov, Waite, and Nemchinov in one draft. So we'll see. I don't know, but again, it has nothing to do with the plays themselves. Plays are great.
And unlike, I thought it was interesting, the Rangers drafted, I think in the last 2 years before this one, I think they've drafted a total of 8 defensemen, but Schneider was their only defenseman this year. He was the only one they drafted.
Yeah.
And we should mention, Eddie, that when Steve did his mock draft, he had Schneider going at 19 just to Calgary.
Yeah.
But he wound up going at 19 to the Rangers. So he had the number right.
Yeah.
You're in the right church, wrong pew, Steve. All right. So the Rangers trade Lias Andersson. You get a second-round pick, and they pick, I hope I got his name right, I believe it's William Cuylle. Is that correct?
Yeah, Will Cuylle. Yeah.
I love that.
Go ahead.
So, what can you tell us about Will Cuylle?
All right, so Will Cuylle is a heralded pick in terms of his reputation. in Ontario hockey circles. The OHL is probably the premier development league in the world. And so when you are a high-profile kid in that circuit and you're playing for Team Canada at the U17 Hockey Challenge, you're playing for Team Canada at the Halen, which is the real competition. I think he was at the Halen, but Cuylle is a kid that on Windsor was a loaded team in a way. Well, not loaded, but they were full of veterans. And so I know that they traded Lias Andersson to get the pick. Some people talking about Ryan Gropp this, Ryan Gropp that, like whatever. Addition by subtraction. So no matter who they drafted with this pick, I don't care. It's addition by subtraction. You're getting rid of a problem, so the problem's gone. And now you're bringing in someone new and you can start fresh. And so with Cuylle, you get the physicality. What I like the most about him is that he's low maintenance, even for a big power winger. And he's a power winger. He hits, he fights, battles for that net front, goes to the net hard. And listen, going to the net is a big deal. Going to the net is a really big deal. It's not that you just go in there and you have no skill. When you go to the net and you do it the right way, that means, and I'm going to use the Adam Graves example, and that guy paid for it with his health. You know what I'm saying? We're going to the net. How many times did that guy going to the net create so many problems for the other team because the goalie had to fight with him and the other defenseman could not move him. They couldn't move him out of the slot. So when that defenseman is basically stuck in the crease with the goalie, you have a 4-on-4 in the offensive zone. And what does that do? It opens up the frickin' ice. It opens up the ice. If you don't try to establish that net front and screen the goalie, because it's almost like everything is a reaction to everything. So if you go and you set up a net front presence, then the other team has to react to it. If you leave the guy there, you're leaving him open to pop in a rebound. You're leaving him open to screen the goalie. You're leaving him open to tip something in. So the defenseman has to make a decision. And how many times do you see the defenseman go and rush to jump on someone else carrying the puck? Like he'll cover the net front and then the puck is being swung around and he's instructed, all right, release, slot release, and go and chase that puck carrier behind the net. Well, a really good puck carrier and playmaker like an Alexis Lafrenière will exploit that, and it's all timing and things like that. So it's very, very important to be a net front or have a kid that's willing to do that. And a lot of kids nowadays, they don't want to do it because you get hurt. It's basically, I played roller hockey. I never played ice hockey, but it's basically just getting punched in the back consistently for like 35 to 45 seconds. All the padding in the world, you could have it there. You're getting punched in the back, mushed in the back of the head. You're getting speared in the back of your knee. Like all types of stuff is going on. Slashed by the goalie in the ankles. That stuff still goes on. And right. Cuylle's the kind of kid that puts up with that. He's willing to stay there. And so I like the pick a lot. I think he's got at least 20, 25 goals a season potential. But if you figure, well, we already got Kakko, we already got Kravtsov, we already got Lafrenière, so maybe you put him on the wing. But there's the level of abrasiveness. He's got a high care factor. He's willing to stand up for his teammates, and I like fighting in hockey. I don't like it because from a violent standpoint, it makes me exciting. I like the fact that if another guy is taking liberties with your teammate, a good punch to the face is pretty sobering. You know what I mean? And it's legal. Right. It's illegal. The most it is, it's illegal for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes in the box, you punch a guy in the face, chances are that they're not going to try to take liberties again. This message was sent, and the coach will tell the guy that just got punched in the face, all right, take it easy with, don't go after that guy anymore. We can't afford to have you in the box again for 5 minutes, so try to keep it clean. This happens. These conversations, I'm not making shit up.
No, I understand. It also changes momentum, too. Things could be going bad for your team. They're slumbering. They're sleeping. They're sleepwalking through the game. And, your guy, he drops the gloves. And the next thing you know, everybody's banging on the boards. Everybody's looking up. It happens. This is, I am definitely a pro-fight guy. I don't know about I don't really mind the violence. I don't even mind the Gong Show it used to be in the 70s and 80s. When it just would be like wrestling, and it just was an added treat during an 82-game season. But anyway, I'm just so ecstatic that they managed to dump Lias Andersson and get that pick. I thought it was robbery because I don't know if this kid's ever going to come back. Is he ever going to recover? I mean, so I was ecstatic that they were able to dump him to the Kings, and so
His father's a scout with the Kings or something like that.
Oh, really? There's that connection?
I think so.
Man, what a touchy situation it is, man. And listen, I'll always say this, like, I'm a parent, so I know what it's like to have your kids go through, your kids go through tough times. You don't want to see them bullied, whether it be online bullied or, be the subject of criticism. But at the same time, you're a professional athlete. Like, this is part of the whole thing. It's just like being like a superstar, an actor. If you're Brad Pitt, yeah, you could have anyone when you want and have the $50 million mansion, but you also have to have the paparazzi flying over your house with helicopters. I mean, it's part of the process. So, if that was the only option to rejuvenate Lias Andersson's potential or his career, and his dad had to step in and kind of make it happen, then that's what parents do. So in a way, I think it was a situation where the parents stepped in and did something to protect his kid. Tough situation for Lias because, his dad is a hero in Sweden, like a Swedish league hero. And you could have a situation where the kid's trying to live up to the dad's reputation. I don't know, but in any event, it didn't work out. He made mistakes. He didn't handle it the way he should have handled it. He could probably want to do it over again. He would. He was a young kid. He acted like a young kid. I don't like it when other 19, 20-year-olds tell me you don't know what you're talking about. When, as a 19, 20-year-old, God knows how many times I got in trouble and how many mistakes I made. And as you get older, it's just the evolving as an adult, especially as a man, where you learn to reflect on all the mistakes you've made. So I'm happy for the kid. He's gone. That he has a new home. I'm also happy that he's gone because the headache is over for the Rangers. And that's it. I wish him the best. He's in another conference, so you don't have to worry about him torturing you if he lives up to his potential. And you got a pretty good prospect out of the deal too. So really, really hope the kid, turns things around and becomes a good player. But it was doomed from the start. It was doomed from the start, wasn't it?
Well, he tripped over the cable, TV cable.
I'm even talking about when they drafted him. All that pressure that you put on a kid when you overdraft him by a good 10 spots or something. You get people like myself, cursing and screaming and yelling. But like I said, I'm a fan. That's what I do. So they're not going to put a muzzle on me.
Yeah,
well, Steve, the one thing I've noticed, it's something that everybody talks about with Lafrenière, and it's what people talk about with Braden Schneider, and now it's what you've told us a little bit about Will Cuylle. I keep hearing the words tough to play against, and I think that seems to be a pattern that the Rangers went with in this draft. They drafted mostly North American guys, right?
Yeah.
And I just think they saw that. I mean, let's face it, this team, we've been saying it for years. They've been too easy to play against. And, they definitely lacked a certain toughness. And it seems like
this for years. Listen,
they definitely went for snarl.
Right.
In these
guys
this year.
This
2-0 Yankees in the second inning.
What is it?
Nice. All right.
The stigma that what the Europeans and the Russians can't play tough, and that's certainly not really the truth anymore. But I'm sick and tired of dealing with players that are in the KHL, that they were going to go back to their team in Sweden, and they just lack the good old Canadian boy grit that I really think the Rangers, they need that so badly. So I'm glad they kind of addressed that. They need guys that are just lunch pail guys that are going to play physical and that are just, I don't have to worry about. I'm sick and tired of the KHL. They sent this guy Crafts off to the salt mines. He's playing with some ridiculous team that is like, I mean, it's a joke. And he can be called back at any time. I don't understand. and the contracts and all that stuff with the they're a pro in Russia, they're a pro here, whatever. So I'm glad they went out and got some gritty Canadian boys, Canadian men to start handling stuff here. That's what they needed. And I think that's what they got.
I mean, I watch every European league. I watch at least one European league game a day, sometimes 3. There's definitely time in the day to do it when you're retired, the way like I am. And so I can tell you right now that stigma, that stereotype, though, is kind of old. The only difference, though, is that in the European leagues themselves, it's not, you don't have that fear of dealing with a heavy physical forecheck. And that's why Team Canada does so well at all these international tournaments, specifically at the U18, U17, and U20 level, is that Hockey Canada's got a style. It's a heavy, aggressive forechecking style. It's built from the net out. It starts with those puck-moving defensemen. These defensemen are told, I don't care if you're small or big, you have to be able to take a hit and know how to move the puck under pressure. I mean, if you get a chance, you got to see how the way these Hockey Canada practices are run. It is ridiculous. Almost like I would say, I guess it would be on a Red Army kind of a level. Not that other USA and other teams don't practice that way, but the Hockey Canada style, that heavy physical forecheck, that's why you see so many of the Canadian teams play that way. Well, except the Maple Leafs. But so I watched so many games in the playoffs this year because I missed hockey. And what I noticed was that every single postseason game outside of with the Maple Leafs, who were just a joke, that the teams were really going at it with the forecheck and banging. And listen, it's like football. The defensive line will wear an overpowering defensive line will wear down the best offensive lines out there. A powerful offensive line will completely neutralize a powerful defensive line. You see what I'm saying? And as the game progresses, they're already in your head. You know what I mean? So think about if you're a defenseman and you're going back to retrieve the puck, and now we're in the middle of the second period. You've already been hit about 15, 20 times, and from multiple angles, right? It's a heavy 2-man forecheck, and you're getting banged around. You're not going to want to hold on to the puck. You're going to want to get rid of it and throw your teammates under the bus. This actually happened. That's why guys get benched. Guys get benched not because they talk back to the coach or not because they take a bad penalty. They get benched because they're not taking care of the puck and they're throwing their teammates under the bus. It happens a lot. You just don't really notice it. You have to pay attention to it and talk to the coaches and scouts, and they'll let you know about it. So when you try to develop a team, you want to be tougher to play against, right? You want teams to look at the schedule. And I've said this on the last podcast. I said, the show. I said, you want people to look at the schedule and say, all right, so let's give an example. You are the Detroit Red Wings. You're one of the worst teams in the league. And you're looking at the schedule and you're saying, you see Boston, you see St. Louis, and then you see Toronto. What's going to cross your mind when you're seeing those 3 games if you're a defenseman? Because the defensemen look at the schedule just like we look at our work schedules to see what day our boss puts us on the, what day our boss slots us or what day you got to open up the shop or whatever. You're like, all right, I got to play Boston. Shit. Man, I got to play Boston. They're going to be hitting me like crazy. Oh, St. Louis after that in a back-to-back. Damn, I got to play St. Louis. And then you're like, thank God we play Leafs, man, because I know they're not going to touch me. I mean, listen, I got NHL dudes DMing me all the time, ex guys. I'm not going to mention their names, but and I ask them questions because I idolized them growing up, and they tell me stuff like that. I'm not saying this because I learned it in my years in the NHL in the 1980s, So I agree. Rangers got to become a tougher team to play against. They want people to look at this. They should want to have people look at the schedule and say whatever, say, shit, we got to go into the Garden and play the Rangers now. And not because the goalie's going to stop everything. It's because you're going to come out of there bruised and beat up.
Right.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, but I know I'm trying to think if there's ever been an era where the Rangers were that team.
I don't know. 94 team was pretty physical.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
They
could
got.
take a
I mean,
lot
look, they
away.
had Boom. They had Jay Wells was physical.
Mark Messier was, forget about it. Mike Modano is still feeling that elbow he gave him.
Well, he's feeling it more from falling off the gurney.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great, wasn't
That
it?
was
I know.
great.
I mean, it was not great from a medical standpoint, but on TV, and
Oh.
Sam's like, "Oh,
Sam, they
go
dropped
Google it,
him
guys."
having
By
a-
the way, Google.
Sam was like the
Google
guy
Mark
at the
Messier.
Hindenburg.
Google YouTube Mark Messier, Mike Modano, and it'll come up. It was the
Right.
dirtiest elbow in history. He knocked him out, and then they had to wheel him out on a gurney.
Yeah.
And it was the old Reunion Arena in Dallas. And as the gurney was pushed, through the door, the boards opening up, the ambulance was there waiting. The gurney, they lifted him up, but only on one side, and they dropped Mike Modano on the floor, tied to the board there.
I saw that live. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah.
I was like, holy moly. So, yeah.
I just
mean,
posted the link to the video in the
that's just
chat.
Classic. I'm wondering if Messier I don't think he got 5 minutes and tossed out of that game for that.
No, I don't think he got anything.
Yeah, I don't think he
I remember him
alive.
like skating around like it happens, but he used to do that like probably once every like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
You know, so
He got that move from Gordie Howe.
yeah.
Get the, meet the elbow. So, very amazing stuff. So I'm glad that they're going in that direction.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
So-
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I was just going to move on to some of the other picks.
Yeah, go on, because I'll be here all day. I could talk to Steve all day about everything. So
All right. So in the third round with the pick they got in the Matt Zuccarello deal, the Rangers drafted a guy, Oliver Tärnström, who was a center. Now I read your write-up on him but some other stuff I saw, this was kind of a bit of a stretch pick. Is that right?
No, it's a stretch
No?
pick.
Okay.
No, it's a
All
stretch pick. Kid was
All right. Don't be hurtful there.
wow.
He's yelling at me.
No. You know what I mean, though. He
It's a little hot.
Right. He's coming at me here.
No, not a stretch pick. Well, first of all, I mean, he was ranked 47th by Central Scouting.
See, this
So
is
when
why
you
I
factor-
shouldn't read anybody but Steve about this shit.
Well, no, it's just that it's just really Tärnström was ranked 47th by Central Scouting, right? So this is just a common sense approach. So if he's ranked 47th by Central Scouting, and you factor in the strength of the pools and the North American rankings, you combine the two, and you're looking at a pick in the hundreds, whether it be the 90s, whether it be maybe at best the 80s, at worst somewhere in like the 110. So you're getting him in the hundreds, right? Is that where he went? I didn't see where he ended up getting picked. He was picked at 92. All right, so exactly.
92.
So he went. I had him ranked at 103. He goes 92. So it's definitely not like a reach. Okay. A reach at that slot would have been, some of the kids picked in the 7th round or some of the 8th round, like a reach, like, oh, this kid is a huge project and blah, blah, blah. Well, now Tärnström, he's got pretty good size for a center. He's about almost 6'1", $160, 65. So he's got a little bit of filling out to do. But the reason why he stood out for me was because he was given a depth role, not a depth role, but to start, he played for Ike J20, AIK, or Ike, whatever it's called, and the junior team. And he was allowed to, not allowed, he was given, I guess, like a depth role. And then within a matter of like a couple of weeks, he was playing on that top line. And when they had to promote some of their top guys, he was not really surrounded by a lot of quality guys. And this guy was dictating play. I mean, he's a playmaking center, very smart kid. He was able to, dictate the tempo, the pace, control the puck, deal with the forecheck, deal with the physicality. The few times it showed up, because that league isn't all that physical. And again, I say it right there. He's an energetic center who's willing to pay the price to make a play. So doesn't that kind of fall in line with the types of plays that the Rangers drafted? Guys that are willing to make sacrifices, physical sacrifices. And then he uses speed to apply pressure on the forecheck. So he's not a center who's just like kind of waiting for things to unfold. He's wanting to impact shifts off the puck and get the puck himself. So you want to call him a puck hound, But I really love the pick. I love the pick. It was the perfect choice to make, considering the fact that he was their first center taken. I'm like, you know what? You guys have passed on. And I know that there might have been a couple of guys available at that point. I got to check. There might have been a couple of kids who were centers. Obviously, Zlodiev was 28th. I'm like, that's the pick. Jeff, make the pick. And if he made that pick, I would have bought him a bottle of Vouv and sent it to the Garden, maybe a whole case of Vouv for the whole freaking staff, because I really like the kid Zlodiev. But that's a good pick. It's a very good pick. The only thing is that he's not physically imposing, but once he fills out a little bit, he'll be very tough to intimidate from a physical standpoint. And the fact that he's got this courage about him, on top of having all this playmaking and puck skills and shooting, you got it. Like I said, and the speed's fine. Speed's very good. So,
any downside to his play?
I mean, really, just his size, really. I mean, he's like I said, he's like a $160 something. No, I really, like I said, no red flags. I never saw him coasting. One thing that I look for, that it's just personal. I just look for how they perform at the end of shifts. Like we saw with Kako, how he seems to like just lose a lot of steam after like about 40 seconds. And maybe this was a byproduct of Alain Vigneault, but Rick Nash always running to the bench after 45 seconds. They used to drive me freaking bananas. Like, stay on the ice, dude. Stay on the ice, make an impact. And he's got a pretty high-end motor. He's got a pretty good motor at the end of shifts, and it can bounce right back. There were games I have, and just looking at my notes, I saw that he'd be like on a shift and draw a penalty, let's say, so it'd be like a 1 and 10 second shift, and then he'd go right back on the ice for that power play, and so it's almost like a 3.5 minute shift to an extent.
Okay. Jim, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted my microphone for a minute there. 4th round, Rangers grab a goaltender. Dylan.
Why?
Dylan.
I mean, he's
Garand.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Garand. Well, listen, he's a good goalie, and I'm not just kind of like hand waving that. I'm just going to pull up his report. The thing about Garand, we got it right there. I don't like his size at all. I know that there are a couple of goalies in the history of the league who've been that big. But
Andy Moog.
Yeah, well, I think is Jonathan Quick? I don't think Jonathan Quick is all that big. But listen, one thing that was weird about him, well, not weird, but usually goalies in junior hockey, when they face a lot of shots, they have better numbers when the more shots they face than less shots than they face. And so my concern, I even wrote it there right there in the report, is that, and he played for a pretty decent team, Camus, that had a couple of high profile players. And even though the numbers look good from a junior league standpoint, he played for one of the better defensive teams. I didn't like the fact that he didn't play as well as he did. He didn't play as well facing a lot of shots as he did when he faced a little shots. Some might say, well, that doesn't make sense. It does actually, because especially in the junior game, if you track all the numbers, that a lot of these goalies will get better as the game progresses and they face more shots. Now, obviously, if it's like 60-10, okay, there's only so much you can do. But pretty significant drop off when he faces 30 shots or more, almost by 20 percentage points in save percentage. I only watched him play maybe 3 or 4 games. And the Ivan Holinka, he was terrible, but he didn't play all that much. And I don't think he was in any of the deciding games. I think they tried to put him in one game and he wasn't all that great. So, but again, the goalies, how much more can you possibly assess them? They did the interviews. So maybe it's a character thing. Maybe he did so great on the interviews. He comes from a good family. He's mature. He's got a good off-ice work ethic. That's stuff that I can't see on game film. But, aggressive, plays the puck. I think that's a big thing. He's a modern-day goalie where you want to see goalies play the puck, and he'll jump behind that net and move it, act as that third defenseman. So that's definitely plus in his favor. But again, I didn't have a problem with the pick, really. The fact that they got Tärnström was like, okay, good. And then they got a goalie. But you're like, okay, like, well, what are they doing? Drafting a goalie when they could just load up on another maybe real boom or bust type of a play that was on the board still.
Right. And do you think it's more? You think it's more the philosophy of Gorton and Walker? Walker, yeah, no, yeah.
Clark.
That they go for the best player available, which I think is what they're going. Maybe they're trying to build assets to trade. People are always going to need goalies. People are always going to need defensemen, or I don't know. I just don't understand the goalie. They're so deep in goalie in the organization. It makes no sense to me. Why not take a risk on a high flyer, a guy that can score goals? I know they got plenty of scoring now, but you can never run out of it. And you don't know who's going to pan out now. You don't know how Capo Caco was supposed to be this, I mean, listen, I give the kid a break. I mean, first season in NHL, I'm not expecting 25, 30 goals.
Yeah.
But sometimes you find these gems that you didn't think were going to be impact players in your organization. It turns out that way. But instead, I just disappointed in another goalie. I mean, you got Shesterkin. You know he's going to play the bulk of the games. You got Georgiev. They've got guys in the system that are really good. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I get it. I understand why they're doing it. The thing is about the goalies that they're drafting, well, maybe not this Canadian kid, but if you draft European or American-born kids or even Canadian kids maybe in college, that you don't have to worry about giving them a contract, and you don't even have to worry about putting them in the AHL or ECHL, that you could keep them at least 4 years in college. Usually with the Europeans, it's 3 to 4 years anyway. So you always want to have contingencies. So I'm a fan of that. And I don't mind if you have an approach where it's like, every year I want to take a goalie. I don't care where he goes. I don't care what round it is. Every year I want a goalie. I want to have competition and goal at the NHL, AHL, and prospect levels. I want these kids to come to camp and meet one another and fight tooth and nail and try to become the best goaltender that they could possibly be. So in that regard, I'm okay with it. The thing is too, is that we also have expansion, right? We don't know what expansion is going to be like down the road. And like you said, having these assets, usually teams won't trade for prospect goalies. They'll trade for some type of proven commodity, whether it be, because teams know they could just go to Europe and offer an NHL contract to any established adult age goalie, right? And try to bring him over, or a college undrafted free agent. Every year, I don't know the numbers, but if you crunch them, you'll probably find at least 10 to 15 NCAA Division I goaltenders who graduated, were not drafted, looking for a contract, get invited to camp, and that could also add to your options. So he was a WHL kid. So I guess it looks like the Rangers now, they're on their second WHL kid in this draft. And based on what they did with Rempe later on, that clearly they were interested in what the crop had to offer. But, I mean, we're not going to know anything about this kid for a couple of years. So it just seems like it's a contingency. You pay a draft pick, whatever. What was he picked? He was picked 4th round pick, 103rd overall. That's the price to pay for a contingency. I'm kind of okay with it. The thing is, though, is that there were a couple of goalies I think still on the board that I would have taken. But he Davidson's a goalie, so he probably had some say in it as well. Could have been a directive from the top.
Could be. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Rangers had 2 5th-round picks. The first one was Evan Vierling. Is that how you say that?
Right. Vierling.
We've got Steve's right up there on Vierling. You can see it right on the screen. So why don't you tell us a little bit about him, Steve?
Statboy Steve. I don't know if he's watching this, but Statboy Steve on Twitter at Statboy Steven. He's Austrian, and he told me what his last name means. I think it means like thief or something. In Dutch or in Austrian, but anyway, Vierling.
From a no movement clause, $7 million a year.
All right, listen. Veerling was a high. You could see there. He was a very high OHL draft pick, and it's kind of like a similar situation with Cuylle. So, it's safe to assume that the Rangers are drafting kids when they're assessing kids when they're 14 and 15 years old. You know what I mean? And so that he was probably a kid that they've known about, and they have a file on this kid somewhere. I would like to think that the Rangers don't only do what I do, which is just track the kids in their draft year, that he's going back, that they're going back. So Veerling was a big time prospect. And when he got drafted by Flint wasn't very good. And they also had a kid there named Ty Dellandrea, who was a first-round pick of the Dallas Stars in 2018. So it was almost like a long-term, not a long-term, but he'd have to wait to get his chance to really blossom into that number one center. And it never really happened. He was definitely Flint's number one, or close to it. Maybe number two with Dellandrea that's still there. But when he got traded to Barrie was looking to contend a little bit. And at Barrie, he was paired up with Tyson Forster, who was Philadelphia's first-round pick. And once they joined those two together, and they added a third kid named Ethan Cardwell, they were one of the best lines in the league. And Veerling, I mean, he's an inside player. He's not like this real tough kid, not very demonstrative, not very physical, but he's just a really slick stick handler and skater. I mean, this guy, he's almost like, I wouldn't say the separation is all that great between Veerling and Jack Quinn when you want to talk about lateral quickness, changing direction. And Jack Quinn was a high pick. Now, Quinn, of course, is a winger, and Veerling's a center. But bottom line classification, agile playmaking center with speed. There you go.
Okay. What did Stat Boy Steve think of him?
I don't know. I don't know what Steve thought. But I remember I tweeted out like Evan Veerling has something. He just tweeted me, he's like, Veerling means like, garbage man. I forgot what it was like. I think it was thief. I think Veerling means like thief in whatever language it was. So
Vogel's still sitting Shiva over Lias Andersson.
Yes. Stat Boy Steve was a big fan of Lias Andersson.
Yeah, I know. And I get it. Listen,
a really big fan of Lias Andersson.
Really?
I know.
Really big fan.
If the kid didn't throw the medal, and if the kid didn't throw the medal and didn't do what he did with the whole going to the media thing, I would have not have this type of like attitude towards him. You know what I mean? But anyway, okay. Good luck. I just wish him the best. Like I said,
good luck and God bless.
Right,
That's
exactly. And with the second pick in the fifth round, the Rangers took left wing Brett Berard. No relation to Brian Berard.
Yeah. What a beautiful pick. I love this kid, man.
I like this.
Yeah, I love this kid. This kid, take those measurements and throw them out the window. Now, he's going to have to adapt. He's going to have to definitely find a way to, not really find a way, but he's just going to have to get bigger. Not obviously size-wise. He's going to have to get bigger, length-wise, like he'll have to fill out. But this year's NTDP was definitely a team-first type of a group. Not that the other NTDPs aren't, but this one more so because they had to follow on the heels of the greatest junior program in hockey history. And I'm not lying, because they had 9 first-round picks and 17 kids drafted. So when you have 8 or 9 first-round picks and 17 kids drafted and you set those records, you're the greatest junior team in history. And Berard's group had came off the heels on the heels of that, where you talk about living up to expectations or trying to match those expectations. It wasn't going to happen. So they had a lot of crash and bang guys. It was a physical 200-foot type of a game that they played. Not a whole lot of offense, but a guy like Berard was easily the most dangerous player on that team any given shift. I mean, whether it be the explosiveness with the speed, the creativity, the stick handling. They had a couple of really good guys, Matt Beniers, Ty Smolanek, Thomas Bordeleau, of course, the defenseman Jake Sanderson. But Berard, man, this kid is just a great puck handler. But what separates him, the reason why I ranked him 65, a lot of kids can go and put up points in junior hockey. But remember, that NTDP, they play 3 schedules. They play a college schedule against, I think, 17 or 19 NCAA programs, 90% of which are Division I programs, and then like 50% of which are elite Division I programs. So you're looking at least 10 games a year, or maybe 8 to 10 games a year against elite Division I programs: Michigan, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Boston University, Boston College. Well, maybe not BC, but you get my point. And then you play the USHL schedule, and then you play the international schedule. And in all 3 of those, the kid was great. And I never once saw him get intimidated or back down from challenges against defensemen who, let's say, may have been 22 or 23 years old. You know what I'm saying? This kid is tough, and he's abrasive. He's mean. He's dirty. He'll hit you after the whistle. He'll slash you. He'll mush you in the face. Yeah, you see, and I'm not making this up. I don't just write shit like this on scouting reports to pump up a kid's tires. He really does that. And so, fantastic pick. I love it. I'm sure the size scared people away. Surprised the Leafs didn't draft him, because you could just say, well, we like skill, and we don't care about size, but he'll make the team tougher to play against, and that's what brought it. Breakaway threat, great stick handler, enters the zone clean, button hooks at the line, recalculates, make plays, very high hockey sense. Like him a lot.
And the Rangers do like they like these kids from the NTDP. They've drafted. It's where JT Miller came from, right?
Yeah.
Keandre Miller.
Okay, Keandre Miller. Yeah.
And somebody else who I'm forgetting. Oh, Brady Shea, right?
Yeah, Shea. Yeah, Shea was there. I think Booney Evers was an NTDPer as well.
Okay. So now we get into the 6th round. The Rangers draft Matt. Is it Rempe or Remp?
I think it's Rempe. Yeah, Rempe.
Rempe. Okay. And this is the kid that's 6'8".
I mean, historically, kids like this in junior hockey don't play in the NHL. They just don't. You just don't see 6'7", 6'8" centers.
No.
They don't play on the checking line. They just don't play. I mean, so it was an interesting pick. I really, when I watched Seattle, the few times I did, because they had the defenseman there, was it Kubicek? You can't not help but notice him, but by the skating and the stride, we're kind of awkward, as you would expect when you're that big. But there was a kid, I forgot his name already, that used to play for the NTDP, who was back in like 2016, Keaton something. He was like a guy like that, and was I was just started out doing the draft stuff, and I tried to figure out how is this kid's going to translate to the NHL. He's so big, and he's a massive wingspan that for a defenseman, you could see it. You always could fall back to Zdeno Chara. You could always fall back to Tyler Myers. You could always fall back to those guys. But when it comes to forwards, there's so much required, right, to protect the puck and maintain a low center of gravity and kind of keep that puck tight to you. Well, if you have a long reach and you're stick handling, how are you really going to protect that puck? And to Rempe's credit, he actually does a pretty good job at puck protection for his size. It's body positioning. He knows that he's quick on his feet, and he knows to use his body. And he's actually a pretty good stick handler as well. Soft hands, for a big guy, that's rare. But this is nothing but more than a late long-term project, and you hope he hits. It's a gamble.
Okay. And then in the 7th round, the Rangers drafted Hugo Allis, I guess. I don't know if I got that name right. 7th round goaltender from Sweden's got everybody all nostalgic. What can you tell us about Allis?
He's not Henrik Lundqvist. And listen, he's speaking of project. So the Super Elite has, a bunch of different portions of the schedule. And I just didn't think he played all that well in any of the portions of that schedule. I mean, he's just a big kid. He wasn't one of the better goalies in the league. There were better goalies in the league that were 6'1" and 6'2". Might have been overage, might have been first year eligible. This might have been a situation where he just interviewed really well. The Rangers are receiving instruction from their goalie guys. I'm going to assume their process is pretty simple. They find out about the kid, or they get phone calls about a kid. Then they go and they do their due diligence, and then they get the goalie guys involved. It could have been a situation where the goalie guy got the call first, and then the whole year he was telling the Rangers, don't ignore the stats, ignore the stats. This kid is money. He's money. So that's why it's very difficult for people who rely mostly on video scouting like I do to really make sense of a pick. So even though I don't even remember if I even had a reaction to the pick because I just kind of expected it. That, just like what I said about Garand, like he's 3, 4, 5 years away from even knowing. We're still waiting on Limbaum. You know what I mean? Like Limbaum was drafted now 2 full seasons. He's had 2 full seasons, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So now we're waiting on him. We all went crazy about that pick. I went crazy about that pick. And now we're waiting for him. And when he shows up, he's got to outperform a lot of people to, become a NHL player. So I guess a contingency, a late round contingency.
Steve, let me ask you this. I mean, when you get to that kind of late round pick, is it pretty much you're going for the projects, or can you make sensible picks even in that late in the draft like that?
It all depends on the team. Some teams, if you just go look at all their 7th round picks, the Leafs in particular are one of them, that they will take a guy who has 100-point potential. And by that, probably because that guy has done nothing but score his whole life, and that he's got a good attitude, he's coachable, he's not a puck hog, he's not all about himself, and say, you know what? Yeah, he's on the size, or yeah, he played in a real easy league, but it's a 7th round pick, man. Just take a gamble on it and see what happens. Just see if the thing about with goalies is that there's only one goalie per team. So, and if you have 15 goalies in your system, this guy has to overcome so many obstacles, or obstacles, as they said in Old Brother We're Off Thou, obstacles. he's got to overcome a lot of obstacles to get to, to become something that was considered to be a hit of a pick. So with Henrik Lundqvist, when he was drafted in the 7th round, it really was a perfect storm because now the Lundqvist had a reputation as being a promising young goalie, and he had some decent numbers to back it up. And of course, he had the brother too, and so there was a lot of factors that went involved. And I just wonder the thought process. I don't know what it is, but to answer your question, I think it differs from team to team.
Okay.
So overall, it sounds like you're pretty. You think the Rangers got some good talent beyond the obvious two first round picks?
Yeah, they did. I think that this group is probably more talented than last year's group, and last year's group was pretty good. So I would say Schneider's better than Robertson. I would say Lafrenière is better than Kakko. I would say that Tärnström. I would say Henriksen's probably better than Tärnström, but not by much. And then there's Zach Jones, a good defenseman, so they didn't draft any other defense to really compare him to. But this Cuylle kid could be. If I'm going to pick a sleeper in this draft, I would say it's Cuylle, because if he really works out and he's got this great attitude. I know they said he's a big Star Wars fan, and he said Revenge of the Sith was his favorite movie. Now I don't know how he could say that over Empire Strikes Back. So looks like we're going to have a little film. There. We got to have a little film session with Mr. Cuylle.
Down with him, and
but he's only 19. Maybe he's never seen the originals.
Yeah. No, I think because he said it was better than Return of the Jedi, and or something like that. But anyway, no, I think it's a good pick, a good draft. the fact that I'm only upset about two things. Well, I'm really only upset about one thing, and that was the trading, the strategy behind the trading, not the actual trading and not the actual pick itself, if that makes sense. It was the getting rid of a third-round pick, but I guess when they trade Lias, they knew that was happening. So they said, hey, let's take the gamble and do it. We got the third-round pick anyway, whereas my opinion is you never trade away an asset like a second or third-round pick unless when it comes to moving up and moving down, unless there's going to be a significant gap between the other available options. And we could argue this. There was a huge gap between Schneider and whomever, and I get it, but time will tell. I think it was just really the Rangers trying to make themselves a story again on draft day, right? They always have to do something. They can't just you won the lottery. You can't just say, like they have to always do something funky. And I don't think, has there ever been a year where the entire fan base was completely collectively in agreement? Like right now, it looks like the Florida Panthers fan base, they are all in agreement that they had an outstanding draft. The Carolina Hurricanes fan base, Minnesota Wild fan base, they are all in agreement that they had an outstanding draft. I think Lafrenière notwithstanding, you probably got some Ranger fans that aren't happy with the draft because they went for the size and the grit, when maybe they should have focused more on skill and speed. But again, you're making yourself tougher. Now, I will say this. The overwhelming majority of the NHL teams, the way that they drafted this year, they did not focus on speed and skill as much as they did with size and grit and heart and whatever. And that is a direct result of what we saw in the playoffs. Direct result. No doubt in my mind that what you saw on TV, remember when Corey Perry and Joe Pavelski signed in Dallas? I was one of the first people like, oh, what great beards. My God, what are they going to do? And look at what they did. Look at what they did on the ice. Look at what they did, the impact that they had in that room, where you get these veteran guys. And obviously they have skill. Corey Perry can't skate, but they still have skill. So Ottawa's draft is getting destroyed by the fan base. But Ottawa knows they got to compete with Tampa and Boston. They got to compete with Columbus. They got to compete with Florida. They got Montreal. Look at Montreal's draft. Big, mean, tough kids, tough to play against. Montreal's fans are a little bit upset about that draft as well. But so many teams said we want to become tougher to play against, except the Maple Leafs. They said we just want to be small and fun and eat Jolly Ranchers and,
Steve, I got one more question for you before we let you go off to your well-deserved vacation.
Yeah.
You were kind of down on the Rangers for their 2018 draft, specifically the first round with Kravtsov and Miller and Lundqvist. Has your opinion changed on that at all, or you still feel like that draft just still has to pan out?
All right, so I remember exactly how I felt. I love the Kravtsov pick. I definitely liked it, so I supported that. And my tweets can prove that at the time. I was upset about not Miller getting picked. I was about to trade because I felt like there were so many good defensemen available, no need to trade. And that I felt that Lundqvist was kind of like good. He was okay. He wasn't a guy that I highly rated. On the surface right now, Miller and Lundqvist are two of the top defense prospects, keyword prospects, in all of hockey. Kravtsov is one of the top prospects, wing prospects in all of hockey. But no one in that draft class has proven a damn thing yet. So until those guys can prove themselves both at the AHL level and at the NHL level, more so the AHL first, because that's going to be the first step. And then, of course, the bigger step is the NHL. Then I will gladly eat crow and say that the shit that I slung towards the Rangers scouting staff for that draft and the trading and all those, the nepotism and the goalie, what have you. Nico Gross I don't think he's even with the organization anymore. I will still say that as of right now, they could have handled it differently. And I even went on record in saying that I would have handled it a little bit differently. Not just using hindsight. I even listed the kids. I would have taken Jonathan Berggren in the second round instead of drafting the goalie. Berggren's one of the top forwards in Sweden right now. I mean, there's a lot of things to do, but we got to give it another year or two. You know, still early.
Okay. Steve, thank you so much for all the time you've spent with us the last couple of weeks. We do really appreciate it. Everybody loves your work. You're one of our favorites here, and get some rest.
Rest.
I got to do my recaps, my rewinds, my reviews. I got a lot of demanding people, so demands to me. So,
Steve,
well, we appreciate the time you
anytime,
extend to
guys.
us.
Anytime.
In parting, you've been talking a lot about screaming in the other room. Do you have a special room that you scream in?
I got a walk-in closet that I call myself Closet Man. Well, because I have 2 daughters and a wife, and they drive me freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And they're always all over me, always asking me to do stuff, to hang out with them. They always want to hang out and tell me. This is the thing, is they don't want to hang out so they can talk about themselves and not ask me how I'm doing. So I go into my closet, I close the door, and I got a nice little setup there. And that's why I do my podcasts. It's my happy place. Well, I also got my garage, I got my yard, I got a screen porch, I got a good setup here. So, but you know, with the COVID thing now they're on full break. They give the kids more time off. The wife's been working out of the house for the last 6 months. I mean, I can't tell you, go back to work already. Go back to work.
Yeah. Well, you know.
All right.
Yes, Steve. Well, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it, bro.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
thank you.
Steve. Take care. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Good night.
Oh, the great Steve Coriano.
Fantastic. An hour and a half of draft information that you're not getting anyplace else. Steve said we are his favorite place to come and talk draft. We are his favorite show.
Well, that's good. That's high praise. High praise, my friend.
That's right. Absolutely. He had some nice things to say about us on Twitter the other night. Said I was sorry Eddie couldn't be there, but always a lot of fun in the Blueshirt Underground, and we're his favorite show.
Keep it real, baby.
So
oh,
that's it. I'm wiped out.
You're wiped out? Well, I got
a lot to unpack.
Okay. Well, I got a couple things I want to discuss.
All right.
Just plugging some things for me.
Go ahead.
I'm going to put a link up in the underground for my band Idiot Box. I need some people to mark us down as following or as a fan. We're currently ranked number 2 in our area. We're looking to go to number 1. So I'll be pushing a link in there. Even if you don't like the music, you can't stand it, it makes you want to vomit, just become a fan, elevate us in the ratings. I want to thank Costa, who I think actually paid hard-earned money for the digital album release. Thank you, Costa, and everybody who supported me. I was talking to some of the guys in the band, and, you know, they're kind of hockey fans, but, you know, not as diehard as we are. And my guitarist says, you know, yeah, I got some suggestions to make your show better. So he says we should get a puppet. We should I had a Henrik Lundqvist puppet. We should
puppet, huh? The pop puppet?
Yeah, pop puppet. He wanted us to go complete Uncle Floyd, you know. And I'm like,
well, I just think of Fred Norris with the Ronnie puppet. Yeah. And then the pop puppet. Oh, poor both.
Oh, you got Baba Shampooey, but he's all gone now. But you know, may we get a Joey Unfortunato puppet?
Joey for with the mom
pants, the mom jeans. So he proposing puppets. He likes more comedy, and I'm like, well, you know,
hey, I'm all about that. I'm all about showmanship and entertainment.
Yes,
it's all fluff. It's all flash. It's all, you know. I have one question for you. I asked the chat room this the other night, but you weren't here. Before we go, I have one question. Now, the rumor is, this is not confirmed yet, but it seems to be the prevailing theory that tomorrow Henrik Lundqvist is going to sign with the Washington Capitals.
Yes.
Does that change how you feel about Hank and his future? Because I think most Ranger fans were like, I wish him well. I hope he goes and wins his cup. Does that change if he's a Washington Capital?
No.
You still want to see, you still hope he wins his cup?
No, I don't care.
Oh, you don't care. Okay.
First of all, he's not going to be integral part of winning any cup over there, and that team I think is on the downtrend. Actually,
A Sam puppet.
Sam puppet. See, you're thinking about
that's coming in from the chat.
Yeah, see, people like the.
And I'm in Toronto.
I guess he wants more comedy bits. I'm trying to tell him, like, well, we mix the comedy in.
Right.
No, I don't care what Henrik Lundqvist does. Okay, I've said this numerous times. If you're not wearing the jersey, I'm not following you. I mean, if something disastrous happens, I'll probably laugh about it. But if he does well, who cares? I mean, he's in the Rangers division, so maybe he'll play against the Rangers. We'll get a break.
I mean, I've said before, I hope if it's not with the Rangers, and if the Rangers, a couple of years from winning a cup, if he wins a cup, God bless him. But if it's with Washington, oh no, fuck him, fuck the Washington Capitals. I've seen Ranger fans say, "Oh, if I'll be rooting for the Capitals now, get the fuck out of here."
That's something that's come up in the last 5 or 6 years where Ranger fans are rooting for other teams because of players.
Everybody's got to have a second team.
Yeah, no, there's no second team. There's only one team.
That's right.
Say, Vegas came in. I like Vegas now. No.
Amen, Tommy. We got to get a win this weekend.
I mean, so it's a joke. Just root for the Rangers. Don't follow. I love these guys.
Exactly.
I'm
right.
the biggest Ryan McDonough. I just want to end this. I'm the biggest Ryan McDonough fan there was. But when he won the Stanley Cup, you see me posted, "Oh, congrats, Ryan. You deserve it." No. Do it with the Rangers, you goof.
Exactly.
Although he played with like a broken ankle.
Right.
He tried his best, but the other buffoons. Rick Nash in his 40-second shifts. All right. So
all right. We will see you guys probably next week.
Yeah, and
I would think there'll be free agent. There should be some free agency news come Friday. I'm sure the Rangers will be doing something.
Oh yeah. Big thing.
Check us out on Facebook. The old shows are on iTunes, Spotify, the whole bit. Make sure you subscribe. As they say, click the bell so you know when we go live. Make sure you subscribe. We've got over 300 subscribers. We want over 1 million. That's what we're shooting. That's what we're shooting.
1 million.
1 million subscribers.
Rosengarten.
All right, Eddie, always a pleasure. Glad you're feeling better. Enjoy, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, my friend. Take
All
care.
right.
You great New York Ranger fans. I love you.
We love you. We'll see you soon.